Coming up, what to do with Madison Bumgarner, looking ahead to the D-backs 2023 schedule, and it's time to call up Corbin Carroll, discussing all that on today's podcast.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm a multimedia journalist and I'm a graphic designer, so please check out my website, Millard Thomas 24.myportfolio.com. On there you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. If you want to see more content by me, just follow me on Twitter at CreatorThomas24 for my personal account, or just look up Locked On Diamondbacks about Twitter and Instagram for the podcast handle. And of course, thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. Not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners. Sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free and available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. Today's episode is also brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online, where the game starts. And follow us on YouTube as well. Locked On Diamondbacks on there as well. Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube. And if you're watching the YouTube channel, you saw me just take off my headphones because I had the noise canceling on, and it would just really if you guys have noise canceling headphones, I have these Bose Q3s. They're really good headphones, but when you have that noise canceling on high, it feels like your ears are like plugged almost. It feels like your ears. My one coworker has this funny joke where he says it feels like your ears are holding your breath when you have the noise cancellation on for your headphones, and that feels pretty accurate. So I'm not a huge fan of having the noise canceling headphones on when I do my podcast. I had it on to start this podcast because my roommate, he also does video, so I didn't want to hear him as I did my pods, but I just couldn't do it with the headphones anymore, so I took it off. So that's why I might have sounded a little weird in the beginning, because I couldn't even hear myself talk. The noise cancellation is so strong in those headphones. But enough talk about headphones. Let's get into the podcast, because I have a whole bunch I want to discuss with you guys today. But first, I want to start with Madison Bumgarner, because Mad Bum is going to be skipped in his next start in the rotation, and his next start is going to be skipped in the rotation. And for Madison Bumgarner, the guy who's still owed, I think, $40 million through 2024, it's like, what do we do with this guy? That's the big question now for the D-backs. What do you do with Madison Bumgarner and that fat contract? Because there's a few options you could do. You could DFA him and eat all the money. You could trade him, still eat most of the money, and maybe have to send a decent prospect back in that package. You could keep starting him for the rest of this season, next season, or you could give him that Caleb Smith, Luke Weaver treatment and turn him into a reliever. So there are options for the D-backs. There are just not a lot of great options to what to do with Madison Bumgarner, because this will be the second time this month that Mad Bum has had a start pushed back in August. If you guys remember, back on August 3rd, he was supposed to start. His start got pushed back 2 days to August 5th because Tommy Henry made his debut back on August 3rd. And thank God he did, because right now, Tommy Henry's looking like the solidified number 3, 4, 5 starter in the D-backs rotation. He looks like he's going to have a great shot of making the rotation next season. But back to Madison Bumgarner, who is just struggling in the month of August. And the extra rest that Mad Bum received at the beginning of the month didn't really help his performance issues, because Mad Bum has made some comments this past month that maybe his arm is a little fatigued. It's a little tired. He's got a little dead arm, because when you look at the stats, they're pretty bad for Madison Bumgarner in the month of August. So it would lead you to believe that he's dealing with some dead arm issues, fatigue issues. But that's really disappointing to hear when you consider the amount of volume Madison Bumgarner has pitched this season, because it's not like he's had a huge workload. It's not like we've asked Madison Bumgarner to go out there and pitch 7 innings every start, 120 pitches, and he's going to rack up 200 innings pitched on the season. No, that's not the case. Madison Bumgarner this season is averaging 5.3 innings pitched per game and 91 pitches per game. Like, solid stats, but not something that's overbearing on your arm. Maybe for someone who had, sure, like, that's not a ton of mileage to have on your arm over the course of a regular season. And when you consider the money that he's getting paid, like, Madison Bumgarner should be able to take that kind of volume if he's getting paid over $20 million in a season. And right now, it's not even like he has the highest workload on his own team. He's currently third on the D-backs in innings pitched with Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly ahead of him. And when you think about the D-backs rotation right now, Kelly, Gallen, and Davies are all getting better as the season wears on, while Madison Bumgarner is continuing to fade down the stretch. And Merrill Kelly, look, he doesn't have the mileage of Madison Bumgarner, but I think he is, a year older than Madison Bumgarner? Merrill Kelly's like 33 years old, and it seems like every season Merrill Kelly's getting better. It seems like as the season wears on, Merrill Kelly's getting better. But for Madison Bumgarner, I get it. He's old, got a long track record, but considering he was like 30 when the D-backs signed him, he shouldn't be this bad. And in the month of August, it's been the worst Madison Bumgarner we've seen all season. He's got 7.94 ERA in the month of August, nearly a 1,000 OPS allowed. And when you contrast that with how he started the season, that first month of the year, I was like, Madison Bumgarner, not that he might be back, but he might be greatly improved and look like a solid number 3 starting in your rotation with the help of Brent Strom, the Brent Strom effect. But the Brent Strom effect wore off after a month because the first 23 innings pitched for Madison Bumgarner, 1.17 ERA, a 183 average allowed, a 597 OPS allowed. Phenomenal stats those first month. Even though when you actually watch the game, you're like, yeah, he's probably not as good as his ERA suggests. He is better than what we've seen the first couple of years, but he's probably not that 1.17 ERA guy. But nonetheless, you're like, to start the season, this is by far the best Madison Bumgarner we've seen in D-backs uniform. Even though it's a little bit smoke and mirrors, this is still the best case scenario we could get from Madison Bumgarner when working with Brent Strom. But since that first month of the season, it's been a struggle for Madison Bumgarner. His ERA north of 5, his batting average on balls in play is above 300. Madison Bumgarner has turned back into the pumpkin that we saw those first couple years in the D-backs uniform. Not even Brent Strom, the fairy godmother of pitchers, can help Madison Bumgarner turn back into an ace. And at this point of his career, I don't think anyone is expecting Bumgarner to turn back into an ace. But the fatigue issues that Madison Bumgarner describes is not even really affecting his fastball too much. If you look at his fastball velocity, it's been right along with what's been all season in terms of his velocity, miles per hour, stuff like that. But it's his cutter, which is like his go-to pitch, that saw the lowest velocity of any month so far this season. It was basically a mile slower than any other cutter seen over any course of a month when it's been tracked. And right now, if your cutter is a little bit slower with the lack of command that Madison Bumgarner sometimes shows, like the thing with Madison Bumgarner is his spin rates aren't, they're good. He actually has good spin rates, but his spin rates don't lead to crazy movement. So when you have that cutter slowing down in velocity, it's not moving a lot already, and you can't locate it consistently. It's why you see these opposing batters sometimes just teeing off and locking in against Madison Bumgarner. So for me, what I would do with Madison Bumgarner going forward and probably next season is I think I would start him in the bullpen, give him that Luke Weaver, Caleb Smith treatment, let him be a long reliever, put him in outings where the D-backs either go down early or they go up early, and let him build his value up that way. And then if he performs well and he looks good, you can trade him when his value is the highest and maybe get back, the 30th best prospect in someone else's organization, and you pay half of Madison Bumgarner's salary. The other option is you still start him in the bullpen, but let's say he performs poorly out the bullpen. You can still try to trade him, but then at that point, you might have to give up a decent prospect to get off of his contract, and you're still going to have to bite some of the bullet on that money as well. So if that second option starts to unfold and play, I think I would rather just go the DFA option. If we start him in the bullpen and he performs well, then we trade him. But if we start him in the bullpen and he performs poorly, then I think we just straight up DFA him and we just eat the money, as opposed to trying to give up a young player to get off the contract. That's what I wanted to say. But whatever it is, whatever the scenario is, I definitely don't want to see Mad Bum in the rotation next season. I'm done with Mad Bum as a starter. I think we've all seen enough of Mad Bum. Like, he's been, let me see, like, this is his third year, I believe, in a D-backs uniform. And right now, I'm going to just pull up his season by season stats with the D-backs, because first year in Arizona, 6.48 ERA, second year, 4.67, and then this year, 4.53. So if you want to make a positive spin about Madison Bumgarner's D-backs tenure, he's gotten better every single season in the D-backs uniform, which doesn't really say much. So right now, for Madison Bumgarner, I definitely don't want to see him in the rotation next year. The signing so far has been a complete disaster by the D-backs. He's like an anchor weighing us down to the bottom of the ocean. So right now, let's figure out a way to limit his role and potentially move him next season.